At 60 years old, most people are thinking about retirement. Penelope Fitzgerald was living in a tiny apartment in London, working part-time jobs to pay her bills, and had just published her third book. But here's what makes this story extraordinary. She hadn't published her first word of fiction until she was 58. While her peers were settling into their golden years, Penelope was just beginning the career that would make her one of the most celebrated British writers of the 20th century. At 63, she would win the Booker Prize, Britain's most prestigious literary award. At 79, she would publish what critics call a masterpiece. This is not a story about luck. This is not about someone who suddenly discovered a hidden talent. This is about a woman who spent decades in poverty, loss, and hardship, who raised children while working countless jobs, who endured failures that would have broken most people's spirits. And yet, at an age when society whispered, "It's too late," she proved that the most meaningful chapters of life can begin after 50. How did she do it? And what can her journey teach us about our own untapped potential? Penelope Mary Knox was born in 1916 into a brilliant literary family. Her father edited one of Britain's most famous magazines. Her uncles were renowned intellectuals. She studied at Oxford University, one of the finest educations available in England. By all accounts, she should have had a comfortable, distinguished life. But life had different plans. She married Desmond Fitzgerald, a charming Irish soldier who struggled to hold down jobs and battled alcoholism. For decades, Penelope became the family's breadwinner, working as a teacher, a bookshop clerk, and at the BBC, always taking whatever work she could find to keep food on the table. At one point, the family was so poor they lived on a houseboat on the Thames River. One winter night, the boat sank. They lost nearly everything they owned. Picture this: a woman in her 50s, educated at Oxford, from a distinguished family, fishing her belongings out of the cold river water. No savings, no security, just survival day by day. Her husband died in 1976 when Penelope was 60 years old. She had spent her entire adult life supporting him, raising their children, working jobs that paid the bills but never fulfilled her deeper calling. Most people at 60, after such a difficult life, would simply try to find peace and quiet. Most would think, "My time is past. I did what I could." But Penelope looked at her life and thought something different. She thought, "Now, finally, I can write." Penelope had always been a writer in her heart, but life, with all its demands and emergencies, had pushed that dream to the margins. She had written nothing for publication during all those difficult years. No novels, no stories, nothing. At 58, she sat down and began her first book. Not fiction, but a biography. She wrote about the pre-Raphaelite artist Edward Burne-Jones, then another biography about her father and his brothers, titled The Knox Brothers. These books showed her ability to research deeply and write with precision, but they weren't yet what she truly wanted to create. At 60, she took the leap. She wrote her first novel, The Golden Child, a mystery set in a museum. It was published in 1977. She was a debut novelist at an age when writers have already published their complete works. But Penelope wasn't chasing fame or fortune. She was chasing something deeper, the need to transform her experiences, all that pain and struggle, into art. Her second novel came in 1978. The Bookshop told the story of a widow who opens a bookshop in a small English town and faces opposition from the local elites. The book was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, Britain's highest literary award. At 62, Penelope was suddenly being recognized as a serious literary talent. Then came Offshore in 1979. The novel was set on houseboats on the Thames River, the same kind of houseboat where Penelope and her family had lived in poverty. She wrote about people living on the margins of society, people who didn't quite fit anywhere, people struggling to stay afloat both literally and figuratively. Offshore won the Booker Prize. At 63 years old, Penelope Fitzgerald stood on stage accepting Britain's most prestigious literary award. The judges praised her flawless prose and her ability to capture entire worlds in just a few perfectly chosen words. But here's what makes her story even more remarkable. She didn't stop. She didn't treat this as the final achievement of a long life. She treated it as the beginning. Over the next 15 years, she published 5 more novels. Each one was shorter than typical novels, rarely more than 200 pages, but packed with such precision and emotional depth that readers and critics were astonished. She had developed a style unlike anyone else. Spare, elegant, often funny, always deeply humane. Her colleagues marveled at how she could suggest an entire life story in a single paragraph, how she could make you care deeply about a character in just a few pages. One critic said she offered more life per word than any other writer. In 1995, at 79 years old, Penelope published The Blue Flower, a novel about the German romantic poet Novalis. It's set in 18th century Germany, far from her own experience, yet she brought it to life with such imagination and emotional truth that many consider it her masterpiece. Think about that. Her masterpiece, written at 79? The novel was shortlisted for the Booker Prize again and won the National Book Critics Circle Award in America. At an age when many people are facing declining health and energy, Penelope was producing the finest work of her career. She published 1 more novel, The Gate of Angels, and was working on another when her health began to fail. She died in 2000 at 83, having published 9 novels in just over 20 years. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. What Penelope Fitzgerald proved was that all those years of hardship weren't wasted time. Every job she worked, every struggle she endured, every moment of doubt or difficulty gave her something precious: depth, understanding, and wisdom. Penelope didn't succeed despite her difficult life. She succeeded because of it. Her hardships became her material, her insight, her unique voice. What experiences have you accumulated over your decades of living? What wisdom do you have that younger people simply cannot possess? These are not limitations, these are your advantages. Second, starting late means starting with clarity. Penelope didn't waste time trying to impress anyone or follow trends. She knew exactly what she wanted to say and how she wanted to say it. At 50, 60, or 70, you're free from the need to prove yourself. You can focus on what truly matters to you. What would you do if you stopped worrying about whether it's too late and started asking, what do I really want to create or experience? Third, excellence has no age limit. Penelope's best work came in her 70s. Her most acclaimed novel was published at 79. The quality of what you do has nothing to do with your age and everything to do with your commitment, your care, and your willingness to keep learning. If Penelope Fitzgerald could publish her first novel at 60 and win the Booker Prize at 63, what might you accomplish if you gave yourself permission to begin? Your best work might still be ahead of you. Your most meaningful contribution might come in the years you thought were just about winding down. Here's what I want you to do today. Think of one thing you've always wanted to do but told yourself it's too late for. Maybe it's writing, painting, learning an instrument, starting a business, going back to school, or simply pursuing a curiosity that's always pulled at you. Write it down. Just name it. You don't have to do anything with it yet. Just acknowledge it exists. Because here's the truth. Penelope Fitzgerald didn't wait for perfect circumstances. She didn't wait until everything was easy. She started in a tiny apartment at 58 with nothing but a desk and her lifetime of experience. You have time. You have experience. You have wisdom that only decades of living can provide. The question isn't whether it's too late. The question is, what are you going to do with the time you have? If this story moved you, click like and subscribe so more people can discover that it's never too late to begin. And leave a comment telling me, what's the one thing you're finally giving yourself permission to start? Your next chapter is waiting. It's time to write it.